All right, so here's our data. So we're going to do a couple things. So first off, on these kind of tables, one of the most useful things to do is to make it so you can sort your data. So if you click right here, I click the first part. So I've highlighted this first column, and then we go down to filter. When we do that, we get these little carrots right next to all the elements, which is cool. So this lets you sort things from you can sort it smallest to largest, that kind of stuff. The other thing is when they sort, it actually maintains the row. So like right now, 89 is Actium, that kind of stuff. Some sorting, if you just sorted the table without doing this, it would actually just sort the numbers in the one column and not make sure they stay with the row. So by doing it this way, we can go from smallest to largest. Hey, look, atomic number 1, hydrogen, boom. It's really useful. Other things in these carrots that are kind of nice is if you click on it, you see they have all of the different, this is actually all the different numbers that are in here. So if we wanted to do one of these where we're just dealing with periods or groups, like let's say we want to do just groups 1, 2, and 13. So we click select all, and we select 1, 2, and we scroll down 13. And we have 1, 2, and 13, and these are just those groups. And then we can sort those. So all of this is just group 1, this is just group 2, and just group 13 is what so we can make some stuff. The other thing is we have a lot of data here. You don't need all of this. So like I'm only going to be playing around with boiling point. I'm going to play with all these other ones. But we can hide these so we don't actually see them. You click on the column, and you can actually do this from multiple columns. You highlight all the columns you want by clicking up on the number, or the letter, I mean. You can come down here and go to hide. We hide that, and for this demo, we're going to hide that. All right, so now, this is just the elements that we need. We have the number, the symbol, the name, the group, the period. All right, so now I'm going to do something. And there's a reason for this. The reason for this is when you start playing with the tables, if we don't do it this way, it'll actually mess up your graphs when you make it. I'm going to highlight everything I just did. Okay, this is all my data. I'm going to press Control-C, which is copy. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to add another sheet. And I'm going to paste in this data. Okay, it's a little bit hard to read, but we can space it out. There we go. I'm going to rename this one. Rename this. This is going to be boiling point. I call it boiling point groups. Okay, that way I still have this data, sheet 1, so I'm clicking back and forth. Sheet 1, this is all of our data, so if I want all of them, not just groups, the groups I have, it all puts it back. A little bit easier. This is just the data for the groups. Okay, so now I'm going to make a graph about the groups with the boiling point. Okay, so I'm going to go to Insert, and I like starting out with, you can put in lines later, but I like starting out with just clean scatter points, so I'm going to put that in there. So we have a graph. There's no data in this graph. We want data in the graph. So here's where we're on the Design tab. I go up to Select Data. Okay, and I'm going to click Add. Okay, so this is where we can put in. You can name different sets of data. This way, if we put in, there's a way you can put in all the data all at once. But the problem is that it's all one, probably the same color. It's going to show it all as the same as that. This way, we can actually separate it by group. We can manipulate group 1, manipulate group 2, manipulate group 13. So you give it a name so you know what it is. I'm going to call this one group 1. Okay, then you click here, select range. And now this is, I just want group 1, but remember we're doing on the x-axis, because this is the x-axis, we just want the atomic number. So I'm going to scroll down here and I can see that this through francium, that's group 1. So I click that. Boom. Now I want my Y data, so I want the boiling point. And we do that. We click that. Boom. Now we have our group names on this one. We click OK. There's group 1. All right. And here's the thing. If you change your mind on some of this, like let's say we don't want to do hydrogen, because we can even look at our graph and we see that hydrogen is weird. Hydrogen's a gas. It's not exactly part. So we could edit this. We click here. We click Edit. Like let's say instead of having, I don't want to include hydrogen, I can actually just make it so I'm not including hydrogen. And I adjust that one. And I don't want hydrogen, so I do that one. Okay, that's better because these ones are all metals. Hydrogen's a gas. It'll make sense. Okay, so do that. Now I want to do group 2. Same thing. I go over here. Group 2. There's radon. Oh, actually, I did the wrong thing. So this is where I put the name. So I'm going to call this group 2. Now I do the x-axis. Sorry about that. Scroll down. Okay. Boom. And I do the y-axis. Except I don't want the period. I want boiling point. Boom. Click OK. Hey, look. There's our data. Man, I didn't rename this. Group 2. All right, here's group 2. You can see it shown up there on the chart. And we'll add one more. We're going to do our group 13. So group 13. Set our X data. So starting here with boron. We set our Y data. Starting here with boron. All right, and there's our graph. Or there's the start of our graph. And we have different colors for everything. We see down here we have this one, Ununtrium 1113. Doesn't have a boiling point, so it's kind of throwing our graph off. So let's say we want to edit that. We can click on select data again and click on at 13, and we can click edit. And you could actually do this by numbers if I want to do it this way. I'll highlight down there, and I'm going to highlight there. Boom. There's our data. There's our first step. All right, so I got my graph now. I made it a little bit bigger. You can click, just drag and click, that kind of stuff makes it bigger. I'm bigger. So we're going to add stuff to this. There's actually lots of different ways to add it. I like doing it a certain way, but just so you know, there's a quick layout feature which lets you kind of pick everything that you can have on it. So you can find the one that you like. I'm going to show you how to do it manually, though. This is actually probably the best one for you guys, but I'm going to show you how to do this manually. But see, so there's that. There's this little plus, which lets you manipulate stuff easily, but the problem is it doesn't have quite as much stuff to it. And there's also the add chart element, so you can do stuff this way. All right, I'm going to do it this one for this first one. So I'm going to put in data callouts. I'm going to put in labels on my data points. Okay, so there's my labels. The problem is those are all numbers. Those are great, but they're not really what I want. What I really want is, I'll tell you what I want. What I really want is I want to have the element symbol. So I'll actually show you how you can do that. If we go to the data points and we right click on it, you can get format data labels. So if we click that, you see this is just selecting for, this is only selected group 13. Right now, see, it shows the x-axis, y-axis, but you can do this in value from cells, which actually means you can pull numbers, information, labels, from your spreadsheet. So I'm going to click that, and it's the same kind of thing that we had before. So this is for group 13. So I click on here, and I'm going to select, starting with boron, I'm going to come down, and remember we left off 113. Put that in there, and I click OK. And now it has the boron 542. I don't want the X and Y on it, so I'm going to turn those off. And look, now I just have the labels, the element symbols, which is what I want. So do that for all these. I click on one of the data points. Don't double click. If you double click, it's just going to select one of these. So you click on it, so you see this highlighting all of them. Right click, format data labels. Value from cells, we do the exact same thing. So this is for group 2. Make sure you're being careful that you're picking the right group. Group 2, boom, turn off the X and Y. And then same thing, and actually because this thing's already open, I don't have to right click on it. See, I've highlighted those. So value from cells, remember we left hydrogen off. So down here through francium, click OK, turn off the X and Y, and boom, we can close this little thing. Now we have everything labeled with units. Okay, this is a nice graph, except there's some stuff missing. One, we have 3 different colors. We need some labels on it. You have to have a title. You have to have axes labeled. So I'm going to go to design, and let's add a title. We'll put it up, a chart title. We'll put that above. This is atomic number versus boiling point. So there's our title. I'm going to add axes to it. You do need to label it. So this is for the y-axis. This is the atomic number. Okay. And I'm going to add in the vertical one. This is boiling point. And you need to put units on there. Kelvin. Boom. We also need a legend. So we go over here and add a legend on the right. So there we go. There's starting to be our group. Now we can start talking about patterns and looking for patterns on this. Okay, so the next part is start looking for patterns. You can do this a couple different ways. You could actually literally hand draw it, like you could copy and paste this into Paint and draw lines. We could put in, the other thing that we can put in is trend lines, okay? We're looking for a trend, and so I'm going to select my group 13 data. That's kind of cool. You click on that, it shows you what data has been selected, which is always nice. Add element, get a trend line. I'm going to add a trend line. Okay? There's lots of different kinds. You don't really need it. Let's just go with a linear, nice straight line. So this is again color-coded, but hey, look, there is a trend line that is showing what is the trend happening with group 13. It starts up high towards boron, and it goes down. That is definitely a trend. Okay? I'm going to go to the next data set, same idea, add a trend line. And now you can say I'm going to do it based off of group 2. Group 2, there's still definitely a trend. It's not a little bit off. Magnesium's down here, but you see there's still a decrease. This is why, though, you need to do more than one group. You can't base it off of just one set of data. But there is definitely a trend here. It is going down. Not going down by much, but it's still going down. Let's see what the trend is for group 1. Add a trend line for group 1. Boom, trend line. What do we see again? There is a trend. It's going down, it's going down, or it's going down a little bit, it's going down. And you can see that just by looking at it too, which is nice. There's that eyeball factor. Okay. So there is our data for atomic number versus boiling point. Oh, I need to do this. I need to click up here. For groups. Okay. So there we see, remember we talked about boiling point is a quasi-periodic trend. Here's our evidence it's a quasi-periodic trend. You have 3 different groups, they're going down. If you wanted, there's a trend, it's clear decrease overall. If you want to add more evidence, you start adding more groups, that would be more evidence. I would encourage you to do more groups if you think that'll help make your argument. So, and you do the same way, you just, when you selected a data initially, instead of just doing groups 1, 2, and 13, you can do it for all of them. It's kind of cool. So, next, I'm going to show you, we're going to still prove this a quasi-periodic trend, so we're going to do the same thing for periods. All right, so we left off before. We did the atomic number versus boiling point for groups. Now I want to do it for periods. So I'm going back to sheet 1. Sheet 1 was our base data. Okay, so now I have it. I don't want to do groups. I want to do periods. Let's pick some periods that we want to do this with. Again, I don't want to do period. I'm going to turn off select all. I don't want to do period 1. There's only 2 elements on it. It's a little bit weird. I definitely want to do something that's got some of the P blocks. So let's do 3. Row 3. I want to definitely have 1 D block in there. So row 4, period 4 is a good one with D blocks. And then we'll do 2 P blocks. We'll do number 2. We could have done 5 as well. So I click that. So now I just have the elements for periods 2, 3, 4, but it's a little bit weird to read. So I'm going to sort from high to low. So look, now there's period 2, there's period 3, there's period 4. Notice how it gets a whole lot bigger because it's got those groups. So I'm going to do a boiling point for period. So I'm going to, again, to make my life a little bit easier going forward, I'm going to highlight my data. I'm going to press Control C. I'm going to add a new tab. I'm going to name it so I don't forget it. We're going to do this boiling point periods. We paste this bad boy in. I'm going to kind of go through this fairly quickly at this point because this is kind of review. I'm going to insert a graph, scatter point. I'm going to select my data, add period 2. I'm going to select my, remember our x-axis is our atomic number, so there's period 2. And our y-axis, or y data, boiling point for period 2. Okay. Yeah, there's that. And then I'm going to add period 3. Starting here with sodium, all the way down to, in this case, aluminum, because it's organized by period, but it'll sort itself out. Follow period 3. We'll get our melting point for period, the boiling point for period 3. Boom, and then finally, we're going to add period 4. Get our points. We're going to start with potassium all the way down. There's that data. And don't worry about the fact that it's not numerical by here. It's sorted by period. That actually makes like the computer smart enough to sort these bad boys out based off of the x and y axis. Do that, and we click OK, and we're done. And we look at this, and you can already see that you can see like there's the first period, second period, third period. So now I'm going to try quick layout. I'm going to go quick layout. I'm going to do, I like this one right here. It's got all the data points on it, layout 5. So it's a chart title, and I'll rename that in a second. Okay, I still have these, the data's a little bit harder to read, so remember I'm going to show you, remember we talked about editing editing the data labels. So I'm going to actually go over here, because we're going to edit more options. So now we have our, the more options brings up the same chart. If you don't like it the other way I did it, do it the other way I did it. We'll start with period 2, value from cells, same way we did this before. There's the symbols for those. Okay, turn off the X and Y. Then we're going to do the same thing. Now I've clicked the next set of data, value from cells. Like I said, I'm going through this quick. If you need it slower, you need to go back and watch the other ones. Turn off X, Y. Okay, and then I'll click my last set of data. This is period 4. Value from cells. There's that. Turn off X and Y. All right. There's that. If I wanted to change the title, remember this title is going to be atomic number versus boiling point for periods. Our y-axis is going to be boiling point. Put the units in there. Our x-axis is going to be atomic number. Okay, so now we look at this. Now here's the one. You could put a trend line in here, but look at it. Just look at it. Remember, if it's a periodic trend, there has to be a trend going up and down, which we already established back in the first graph, but also across the period. And look at this. Do you see a trend? A trend should be either increasing or decreasing. It can't really be both. And what do we see here? For this one, it goes up and then it goes down. It goes up and then it goes down. It goes up and down. It's like a really nasty roller coaster. Actually, probably a really fun roller coaster. It goes up and down. If you want to visualize that another one, I can go back to design. So remember I said I prefer scatterplot. I don't normally like connecting the lines, but you can connect the lines. If you want to change it to connecting lines, we go here. And we go back to the scatter, and I can actually select the one that's got lines for it. Sometimes the lines are more helpful than others. That's why I don't like the lines, because it put them in a weird way. So I'm going to undo that. But this is one where you could eventually go in and draw it, or you could add a trend line And yeah, it's not really a trend. It wants to tell you that there's a trend going down, but the problem is it goes up and then it goes down. So there's none on this. You could manually draw this in, but you can see, I'm telling you, if you get this little hump feature where it goes up and it goes down, that is not a trend, okay? Up and down is not a trend. It's got to be either a fairly steady decrease or a fairly steady increase. So, one, I showed you how you make a graph in 5 minutes or less. And then two, that's kind of what you're looking for with your trend. So now we have these two pieces of data. We have our boiling point for groups, and we have our boiling point for periods, and they indicate to us that boiling point is a quasi-periodic trend. It goes, there's a trend as you go down the group, but there's not a trend as you go across the period, okay? So you are going to be looking for this kind of stuff and then making your argument for these based off of these types of graphs. And you have to interpret them and you have to be able to explain it. So there you go. Good luck, guys.